of mental health unit desk in all institutions in Kenya. The Senator for Kisumu County, Senator Professor Tom Ojienda, will seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries regarding the provision of agricultural extension services in Kisumu, and a statement also from the Standing Committee on Education concerning early childhood development education in Kisumu County, and from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget concerning pending bills accrued by the county government of Kisumu. And then the Standing Committee on Rules will make a statement on the statements that are pending before the committee, and they are 9 in number. They are 6 in number. A statement by Senator Christo Asige regarding retesting of the drivers of public service vehicles, PSV, upon expiry. The Speaker's session is entering the chamber, and any time from now, once he takes his chair, that is Speaker Jeff Emerson Kingi, we shall hand you over to the plenary for the proceedings for today. Welcome and enjoy the plenary.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests our church. Amen. Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
Address for 3 days, and then and they make their submissions on that presidential address. And that is a process that has been going on from yesterday and even today. And today has been marked as the final day for that business. Just as more history on the State of the Nation address, and it has its origins from the United Kingdom, whereby in the UK it is called the King's Speech. And the King's Speech provides the government with an opportunity to outline its priorities for the months ahead. It is formally called the Speech from the Throne, and it is key part of the state opening of. You can see the Senate has achieved the quorum. We hand over to the Senate for.
Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation from the County Assembly of Busia. The delegation comprises 9 members and 6 officers of the Committee on Delegated Legislation who are on a benchmarking visit with their counterpart in the Senate. Honorable Senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that they may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Joseph Okoth, the chairperson. The Honorable Irene Edua. The Honorable Dalmas Onjole. The Honorable Alexander Ayeko. The Honorable Agnes Nangame. The Honorable Said Jele. The Honorable Dennis Okinda. The Honorable Mary Odongo. The Honorable John Makabwa, Maureen Ogombe, Duncan Ojas Otwoma, Brenda Kanani, Arthur Mbetera, Edwin Kanu, and lastly, Godwin Wanyama. On behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. Honorable Senators also wish to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, 3 research officers from the County Assembly of Garissa who are in the Senate for a 1-week benchmarking visit. Honorable Senators, on behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to them and wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Busia, Senator Omtata, under 1 minute. Have a seat, Senator Omtata. The chair is on its feet. Even if you're pinched, you're supposed to stay put. I will allow the Senator for Busia under 1 minute to say words of welcome, to welcome the delegation from Busia County. And I will also allow Senator Beatrice Akinyi under 1 minute to extend the word welcome to the delegation from the County Assembly of Garissa. In that order, proceed, Senator.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to address this August House in welcoming a delegation from Busia. The honorable members seated here from Busia County Assembly and their support staff belong to the Jailer Committee and are here on a learning tour. They're on a study tour to familiarize themselves with the parliamentary processes because they want to ensure that Busia flies high. They want to ensure that the bylaws that are made in Busia are bylaws that are in consonance with the Constitution and with the national legislation. So I welcome you to this August House. Feel at home, make use of the opportunities you have. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I would also plead to you if you have got any slush fund somewhere to help them because they really need a lot of training to be able to do what they're supposed to do. They realize that their capacity is very low, and they are reaching out to the Senate to assist them. With those few remarks, I welcome you, feel at home, and have a fruitful tour. And thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honorable Speaker, I would like to take this chance to welcome the team from the Garissa County Assembly, and just to give them the comfort that we are partners in the oversight function that the two levels play over county governments. Honorable Speaker, I also want to give them the convenience that the County Public Finance Law Amendment Bill 2023 now finally is going to give the assemblies the autonomy in running their funds. This has been long awaited, and the county assemblies have been longing for this independence. And to tell them that the Public Finance Amendment Act has been amended by inserting the following new sections immediately after Section 109. And the most critical is that they establish for each county a fund to be known as the County Assembly Fund. So I think that is good news for the counties, and as a Senate, we are committed to giving service to the counties as expected. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Senator for Busia, Senator Mtata.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise under, I have a petition for the protection of the right to life, health, and a clean environment, and other constitutionally protected rights and fundamental freedoms of the residents of Uyombo village in Masangoni ward, Masangoni constituency, Kilifi County. We, the undersigned citizens of the Republic of Kenya and residents of Uyombe village in Masangoni ward, Kilifi South constituency, Kilifi County, draw the attention of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya to the following. That Kilifi County has a population of 1,453,787 people, according to the census of 2019, and is home to 4,153 fishermen, and has a total of 199,674 families practicing agriculture on 112,879 hectares of land. The county has continued to support education programs with 1,550 ECD centers, 41 vocational training centers, 538 primary schools, and 86 secondary schools. That Uyombe village in Masangoni ward, that's Kilifi County, the North Coast region of Kenya, has been earmarked to play host to a nuclear reactor by the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, NUPEA. That NUPEA is a state corporation established under Section 54 of the Energy Act of 2019 and tasked with the responsibility to promote and implement Kenya's nuclear power program. Paragraph 4 lays out the mandate of NUPEA, and I will skip it because it's in the statute. Paragraph 5, that the preservation and realization of the right to a clean and healthy environment for all is greatly anchored in the strict adherence to procedural environmental rights, That's access to information, public participation, and access to effective remedy in cases of the violation, in ensuring the right to a clean and healthy environment. Therefore, it's pertinent that all procedural rights are upheld without compromise. That the people of Uyomba have been denied access to information regarding the nuclear reactor and have been excluded from the decision-making process. That the Uyomba community have been excluded in the participation that led to choosing the site. That no measures have been put in place for effective remedies or access to justice in cases of a nuclear spill for the people of Kilifi County. The nuclear modular reactors will use uranium in their processes. That the uranium will produce radioactive waste. That the half-life of uranium is 4.5 billion years. That this makes the project highly sensitive, risky, extremely toxic, and dangerous for the county and beyond, for people, the land, flora, and fauna, into future generations. The petition goes on to state what the report of the Presidential Task Force on the review of power purchase stated. I will not read that. It's on record. That the Ministry of Finance, therefore, as a result of that report, erred in allocating 2 billion to NUPEA. The Sustainable Development calls for prioritizing sustainability and community well-being and environmentally friendly projects to avoid social and cultural disruption. That nuclear energy is an extremely sensitive venture that requires high levels of professionalism and strict due diligence and fidelity to the rule of law. That NUPEA has exhibited a high level of mediocrity and unprofessionalism in choosing the location for the nuclear power plant. That Uyombo Reef and Mida Creek, with its mangrove system, part of the Watamu Marine National Park and Reserve, is home to many endangered species of marine life and is included in the Watamu/Malindi UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. The area attracts many special interest conservationists, scientists, and tourists who are opposed to the location of the project. This area is known as a biodiversity hotspot and must be protected at all costs. That Uyombo community also borders the Arabuko-Sakoke Forest, Nature Kenya States. Arabuko-Sakoke Forest is the last large protected fragment of the East African coastal forest and home to 4 endangered mammals and 6 threatened birds. The forest also provides sources of livelihood for the neighboring communities and ecological services for the country. It must be conserved for the people of Kenya. That the area is a home to coral reefs, mangroves, dolphins, and whales, which attract many tourists, researchers, and special interest groups. That the area, therefore, is a very sensitive and unique ecosystem, deserving for protection for Kenya's future generations, and that Kenya's tourism, with the socioeconomic benefits, must not be exposed to such high-risk ventures. That this, therefore, disqualifies the location chosen by NUPEA and calls for further research into a new location for the reactor. That choosing Uyombo increases the cost on the taxpayer for risk mitigation. That NUPEA has failed to perform a risk assessment analysis in choosing the proposed site. That Kenya has signed the Vienna Convention on Civil Liberty for nuclear damage that covers liability and compensation. That Kenya is yet to ratify the Pelindaba Treaty, making it possible grounds for suspicion of setting up nuclear weapons by any mischievous regime in power, which could cause instability in the region. That the legal framework for management of nuclear power plants in Kenya is not adequate. EMCA, That's the Environment Management Act is weak, Conservation Act is weak on risks assessment, liability, and compensation. That there's no effective legal framework for disaster management in Kenya based on how floods, drought, and the Owino Uhuru-led contamination case and other disasters have been managed. That there are no existing guidelines on health impact assessment with respect to projects and related disasters. That there's no existing policy framework for radioactive waste management. That there's no remediation policy in Kenya, and NEMA is unable even to deal with the Owino Uhuru-led contamination and poisoning that happened in 2009 and is fighting in court against remediation to the affected community. The Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry estimated the total of cost of remediating the Fukushima site was yen 21.5 trillion, which is equivalent to 187 billion, almost twice the previous estimate of yen 11 trillion, that was 96 billion US dollars. That the Kenyan taxpayer cannot be made to take such a risk, as the taxpayer cannot afford such a remediation costs. That there's no proven need for nuclear power as Kenya suffers no energy deficit, and in addition, Kenya has geothermal, wind, and solar resources, which offers renewable energy with less risk. That the socio-economic and social impact report was not done by professionals in nuclear energy and radioactive waste management. That in parallel, through omission or commission, NEMA has failed to respect laws and procedures related to licensing, and the research project was allowed to be implemented in a location that is contrary to the rules and regulations on the requirements related to the environmental impacts. That NEMA is also legitimizing the illegal work of NUPEA by being part of the presentation and the defense of the CESA report. That the county government of Kilifi has failed in its mandate to control toxic industries producing toxic waste by either providing suitable infrastructure, or if the infrastructure is inadequate, to advise against the commissioning of such projects. That the peers of energy, during a visit to endorse the site, ignored the issues raised by the community and went ahead to rubber stamp NUPEA's decision on the location, signifying the groundbreaking of the project activities in the community despite the concerns posed by the community. That we raised our issues before the relevant institutions and organizations, that is the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and the Kilifi County government, but were ignored. That the issues raised above are not pending in any court of law or any other legal body. We therefore, your humble petitioners, pray that the Parliament of the Republic of Kenya, through the Senate, urgently consider this an economic, environmental, and moral issue for the country, and that they act with the view of: 1, ordering all responsible state agencies to remove Uyombo from the list of possible sites for a nuclear reactor; ordering NUPEA to immediately explain evidence-based research and the science that led them to choosing Uyombo as their preferred site; ordering the EACC to institute mechanisms to prosecute individual NUPEA officials found culpable of wasting taxpayer funds by recommending Uyombo as their preferred site; ordering NUPEA to stop interfering in the issuance of title deeds to the Uyombo community. Ensuring the freedoms of the residents of Uyombo village and other Kenyans under the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. And your petitioners will ever pray. Dated the 12th day of October, 2023, presented to the Senate by the Senator for Busia County on 30th October, 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, this petition is committed to the Standing Committee on Energy and the said committee may work jointly with the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources in preparation of the report. And in terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is mandated to, within 60 calendar days from the date of reading the prayer, which is today, to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and tabled on the table of this Senate. It is so directed. Next order, clerk.
Order number 5, papers.
The majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of this Senate today, 15th of November 2023, Mr. Speaker, being the Circle Society's regulatory authority, specified non-deposit taking levy order 2023. Thank you.
The chairperson, Standing Committee on Administration of Committee on the chairperson, Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House the joint report of the consideration of the request for approval by Parliament of the deployment of officers of the National Police Service to the Multinational Security Support MSS mission. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 6.
Senator, just hold on, clerk. Senator Sifuna, you very well know at what point a senator ought to rise on a point of order. And this does not present that opportunity. Okay, proceed with your point of clarification.
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to request your indulgence that this order on papers, since yesterday I was required to table some papers regarding the debate yesterday, that I do it at this particular juncture.
Very well. If you recall, honorable senators, the honorable senator for Nairobi, Senator Sifuna, made certain allegations, and through some points of order, he was requested to substantiate. He was unable to substantiate immediately and therefore sought time to do so today. I will therefore allow the honorable senator to proceed to substantiate pursuant to Standing Order 105-2.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. During debate yesterday, I made certain assertions on the floor of the House and requested that you allow me time to table evidence to support the assertions that I made. there were three matters that I was required to substantiate, Mr. Speaker. I am going to substantiate two of those and withdraw one. Mr. Speaker, the one I'm going to withdraw was on the question of whether the Wi-Fi at city markets are working. My idea of substantiation was to prepare sworn affidavits by traders at those markets to demonstrate that, in fact, those Wi-Fi hotspots do not work. Because of the time that it's taking to produce those affidavits, I want to withdraw that remark, Mr. Speaker, so that in the event that I have the affidavits ready, I will be able to make that allegation or assertion again. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I was required to substantiate an assertion I made here that, in fact, the loan default ratio of the loans that have been disbursed under the Hustler Fund are higher than the loan default of commercial banks in Kenya. I have here with me, Mr. Speaker, an extract of the Central Bank of Kenya annual report and financial statements for 2022-2023. This report, Mr. Speaker, is available on the Central Bank statement website, official website from where I got it. And also, Mr. Speaker, it is available, just 1 minute, on the regular Monetary Policy Committee updates, which are available to members of this House. Mr. Speaker, I want to point specifically to page 27 of that report.
What is your point of order, Senator Boni?
Mr. Speaker, is about procedure. The senator was proceeding very well. Having described the evidence he has, he's supposed to table. You will peruse through the clerks. You'll be satisfied it meets the standard, and then he can then speak to it after you have met that clearance. That is the procedure, Mr. Speaker, sir. He's just supposed to table.
Just allow him to just highlight the contents. After that, he'll table. Of course, I'll have the opportunity to peruse through it and thereafter make a ruling as to whether that particular document indeed substantiates the allegations made yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When you peruse, I want you to note page 27, where the central bank has extracts of statement of comprehensive income for commercial banks. And I have highlighted for you the loan portfolio vis-a-vis the non-performing loans and the bad loans. And Mr. Speaker, you will see that the non-performing loans as at the end of October 2022 or June 2023 stood at 14.5%. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, the non-performing loans for the Hustler Fund are at 3 billion, which is 30% of the outstanding, which is 10 billion. It's simple math, Mr. Speaker, I wish to table. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, there was an assertion here that we, in fact, as a country, received a donation of free fertilizer from the Republic of Russia. Mr. Speaker, I have here with me an extract of the official Russian embassy in Kenya Twitter page. And on this one, I want to thank Kenyans on Twitter for pointing me to this particular page. It is a verified page, Mr. Speaker, and electronic evidence for those who want to shout point of order is admissible in this country. Mr. Speaker, you will see a communication on the official handle of the Russian embassy in Kenya of a donation of 34,000 tons. Mr. Speaker, I have gone further to attach, and I wish we would be allowed to play videos the way we were playing videos during the Kawira Mwangaza impeachment, but I have photographic evidence.
Senator Sifuna, is the fertilizer in question the same fertilizer in that?
In fact, indeed, Mr. Speaker, that is my point. This is the free fertilizer that we were told has now been subsidized. And the point I was making is you can't subsidize something you got for free. Mr. Speaker, I have attached photographs and news items of the cabinet secretary responsible for agriculture receiving that consignment of free fertilizer. Mr. Speaker, I wish to table.
Well, I will, the clerk get seized of these documents. We will look at the authenticity of those documents, and I'll make a ruling as to whether they can be used to substantiate your claim. Yes, Senator.
Mr. Speaker, I believe in your wisdom, but as you're perusing those documents, Mr. Speaker, it should be clear that that evidence that is being tabled there if there was a donation, where is the evidence that that same consignment moved from where the Minister of Agriculture received it, it went to distribution areas, and it is the same fertilizer that has been given to the people of Kenya as subsidized fertilizer? Mr. Speaker, there is responsibility here. Let us stop politicking with things that deal with food and the lives of our people, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
I will peruse these documents. Senator Sifuna knows the consequences of his actions, and upon perusal of these documents, if indeed they do not substantiate the claim as made yesterday, then the consequences will naturally flow. Thank you. Next, Order Clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
One, Senator Hamida Kibwana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My statement on 52.1, Standing Order 52.1, is regarding the launch of the time use survey report. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.1 to make a statement on a matter of general topic concern regarding the recent release of Kenya's first ever time use survey report. This development is pivotal in the pursuit of gender equality and acknowledgement of women's contributions to our national economy. The survey provides us with valuable data that highlights the significant yet often invisible contribution that women make to our society and economy through unpaid domestic and care work. The stark gender disparities in the distribution of unpaid care work underscore the urgent need for targeted interventions and policy reforms that support and empower women. The survey was conducted as a joint effort by the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, KNBS, the State Department of Gender and Affirmative Action, UN Women, the World Bank, and Oxfam International. The report presents a comprehensive analysis of time use data based on the 2021 Kenya Continuous Household Survey. Mr. Speaker, sir, the findings are both enlightening and concerning.
What is the point of order, Senator Horn?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The distinguished senator is obviously speaking to an opinion poll. And Mr. Speaker, opinion polling in this country is covered by a statute. Mr. Speaker, could she, before she makes us consume of that survey, tell us who the opinion polling agent is and whether the survey they have taken was in accordance with the law? Mr. Speaker, I say this with maximum respect to my colleague, but unfortunately, people are even doing opinion polls on telephone phones, on their phones.
So what is your point? What are you?
Yes, I'm requesting the member to tell us who is the opinion polling company.
Just get me right, Senator
Yes.
Bone. Under what standing order are you basing your point of order?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, according to standing orders, members of parliament, 105.
Which standing order? 105.
105.
Okay, proceed now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had made my point. The accuracy of the information she's about to table. Nothing personal, but we want to be sure that we are not consuming what they say in computer parlors, garbage in, garbage out.
Senator Amida, what is the accuracy of this statement you're making pursuant to Standing Order 52.1?
Mr. Speaker, I request my colleague Senator Kalwale just to give me time because he has not even understood the gist of this statement. I'd not even started yet. So I don't see why he would have getting jittery on this one, and yet I'd not even started. Kindly give me time, and I will disclose the opinion following.
Are you saying that the responses to the accuracy of your
No,
statement will be, is in the body of your statement? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, sir, the findings are both enlightening and concerning. The report reveals that on average, women in Kenya spend approximately 5 times more time than men on unpaid domestic and care worker. The inequality not only perpetuates gender inequalities, but also impedes women's empowerment, hindering the ability to engage in productive activities and public life. The invaluable partnership of the National Gender and Equality Commission, GEC, the Council of Governors, COG, and the University of Nairobi, UON, in the survey highlights the collective commitment to addressing the gender disparities embedded in unpaid care worker. As Mr. Speaker, sir, as we delve into the specifics, the survey indicates that on average, women and girls in Kenya over the age of 15 spend 3 hours every day on unpaid domestic and care work. There is a significant time investment that unfortunately it is not adequately accounted for in our national economy. The geographical distribution of the unpaid work reveals additional layers of disparity. Women in Marsabit County, for instance, spend a staggering 7 hours per day on unpaid domestic and care work, nearly double the national average. Similarly, trends are observed in other counties, emphasizing the need of targeting interventions. The implications of this data are profound. The under-recognition of the contributions of women to the national economy, specifically in the realm of unpaid care work, results in an incomplete representation of our economic activity. This oversight has broader implications, including the perpetuation of the feminization of poverty and the hindrance of the full realization of women's potential in economic and social development. Mr. Speaker, sir, to address these challenges and pave the way for a more equitable future, it is imperative that we not only recognize the disproportionate burden placed on women, but also take concrete steps towards policy development and legislative reforms. The report emphasizes the need of an unpaid care and domestic work policy to legally recognize, reduce, and redistribute the workload. Furthermore, it calls for the development of labor policies that support the integration of unpaid caregivers into the labor force, establishing family-friendly working arrangements and ensuring decent terms and conditions of employment. Mr. Speaker, sir, as senators, we have a critical role to play in championing these policy changes and legislative reforms. The Time News Survey report is a call to action. It is a reminder that we must take decisive and concrete steps to address the gender disparities in unpaid care work and fully recognize and value the contributions of women in our economy and society. By doing so, we will not only be advancing the cause of gender equality and women's empowerment, but we will also be building a more just, equitable, and prosperous Kenya for all of us. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. Senator Hamida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll proceed with my second statement on the mental health unit desks in all institutions in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to request for a statement from the Standing Committee on Health on the establishment of mental health unit desks in all institutions in Kenya. In the statement, the committee should outline initiatives undertaken by the government to establish mental health unit desks in all public and private institutions in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, in all public and private institutions in Kenya, explaining any coordination with mental health professionals and organizations to provide timely interventions and support. State plans, number 2, by the government to ensure that the mental health unit desks in institutions have adequate resources and qualified personnel to assist in conducting regular awareness campaigns, workshops, and seminars. Number 3, provide information on the budget allocation and funding mechanism in place for the establishment and maintenance of mental health unit desks. And finally, recommend the establishment of a standardized monitoring and evaluation framework to ensure the mental health desks meet their objectives. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Kisumu, Senator Professor Tom Ojenda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I have 3 statements. The first statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, is on the provision of agricultural extension services in Kisumu County. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries regarding the provision of agricultural extension services in Kisumu County. In this statement, the committee should, 1, state the extent of provision of agricultural extension services in Nyando, Muhoroni, and Nyakach sub-counties in Kisumu County. 2, state measures put in place to upscale provision of agricultural extension services in the 3 sub-counties. And 4, give a breakdown of how the budgetary allocation by the national government and county government of Kisumu towards the provision of agricultural extension services was utilized for the financial years 2022-2023, and how the funds set aside for the financial years 2023-2024 will be utilized for agricultural extension services in Kisumu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, my second statement is on early childhood development education, or ECD, in Kisumu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding early childhood development education, or ECD, in Kisumu County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the number of ECD centers in Kisumu County and their respective pupil enrollment. 2, appraise the Senate on the number of teachers deployed by the county government of Kisumu to the ECD centers, their terms of employment, including remuneration and other benefits, and the teacher-pupil ratio. 3, provide a report on the level of national and county government investments in infrastructure development and teacher training in ECD centers, stating the budgetary allocation at both levels of government, disclosing any donor funding for infrastructure development and promotion of quality childcare in the centers for the financial years 2023-2024, and 4, outline any measures put in place by the county government to optimize the teacher-pupil ratio in ECD centers within the county. Mr. Speaker, sir, my last statement is on pending bills accrued by the county government of Kisumu. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the pending bills accrued by the county government of Kisumu. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the amount of pending bills accrued by the county government of Kisumu during the financial years 2013-2014 to 2022-2023, indicating the nature of these bills and the status of their payment to date. 2, state the reasons for non-payment of pending bills by the county government. And 3, state the amount of funds set aside by the county government of Kisumu for the financial years 2023-2024 for the payment of pending bills, stating measures put in place to ensure the prompt clearance of all pending bills accrued by the county government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 56-1AA. The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Roads, Transport and Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am not the chairman of transport, but I'm a member of that committee, Mr. Speaker. So I'm reading on behalf of the chairman. Mr. Speaker, sir, Standing Order 56.1 provides that a chairperson of a committee may make a statement relating to a matter of which the committee is responsible. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 56.1, I wish to issue a status report on the progress of consideration of the following 6 statements. A. Statement by Senator Crasto Asige, MP, regarding retesting of public service vehicle, PSV, upon expiry of their driving licenses. B. Statement sought by Senator Joseph Kamau, MP, regarding the construction status of the road connecting Lake Kenyatta Primary School to Ziwa Junction, Lamu County. C. Statement sought by Senator Kadhuri Murungi, MP, on the progress of the evaluation of tenders and commencement of dwelling works of Meru Town Roads B6/A9 project phase 1. D. Supplementary information on to a statement on illegal diversion of staff training funds from the accounts of Kenya Maritime Authority. E. Statement by Senator James Kamau Murango, MP, regarding speeding by drivers transporting miraa in parts of Kirinyaga County. And F. Supplementary information to a statement by Senator Beatrice Ogola, MP, regarding death of Boda Boda riders and their passengers by sugarcane trailers of a local sugar miller, Sukari Industry, in Viwa constituency. 1. Statement by Senator Crasto Asige, MP, regarding testing of public service Transport and Housing regarding retesting of public service vehicle, PSV, upon expiry of their driving licenses. In the statement, the committee was requested to A. Explain the justification and criteria for retesting of holders of driving licenses with class endorsement B3, D1, D2, D3, C, C1, CE, and CD upon the expiry of holder licenses, and as communication by the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, on 20th June 2023, stating the associated fees. B. State the professional qualification requirements for individuals conducting the retest. C. State whether the proposed biometric licenses are obligatory, specifying which category of drivers would be required to obtain them and the cost associated with obtaining a biometric license, explaining the difference in cost, if any. And D. Shed light on the extent to which representatives of long-distance drivers and conductors associated were involved in arriving at a decision by the NTSA to retest drivers holding the said driving licenses. Mr. Speaker, sir, in response to the request by Senator Christo Asig, MP, the committee sought and received a response to a statement from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Road and Transport. At its sitting held on 12th October 2023, the committee considered the response to the statement and observed that the response was unsatisfactory and sought supplementary information. The committee will therefore pursue the supplementary issue raised in the statement to its conclusion. In statement 2, statement sought by Senator Joseph Kamau, MP, regarding the construction status of road connecting Lake Kenyatta Primary School to Uziwa Junction, Lamu County. At a sitting of the Senate held on Wednesday, 31st May 2023, Senator Joseph Kamau, MP, sought a statement regarding the construction status of road connecting Lake Kenyatta Primary School to Uziwa Junction, Lamu County. In the statement, the committee was requested to A. Provide details of the tender for upgrade of the road from earthen to concrete, paving blocks, including the date, identifying the contractors who won the award, the amount of funds allocated for the project, and the scope of work to be undertaken. B. Clarify whether the Ministry of Roads and Transport is aware that the work was done, but the concrete paving blocks were subsequently removed by the contractor, and if so, state the reason for the same. And C. State the measures in place, if any, by the government to have the road reconstructed to the specifications provided in the tender award, providing the timeline for completion of the project. Mr. Speaker, sir, in response to the request by Senator Joseph Kamau, MP, the committee sought and received a response to the statement from Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Roads and Transport. At its sitting held on 12th October 2023, the committee considered the response to the statement and observed that the response was unsatisfactory and sought supplementary information. The committee will therefore pursue the supplementary issue raised in the statement conclusion. Statement sought by Senator, the third statement, Mr. Speaker, was the statement sought by Senator Kaduri, MP, on progress of evaluation of tenders and commencement of dwelling works of Meru Road B6/A9 project phase 1. At a sitting of the Senate held on Wednesday, 12 April 2023, Senator Kaduri Murungi, MP, sought a statement regarding the progress in the evaluation of tenders and commencement of dwelling works of Meru Town Road B66/A9 project phase 1. In the statement, the committee was requested to appraise the Senate on the status of evaluation of tenders number Kenha 2536/2022 and Kenha 2540/2022 for dwelling consultancy services for construction and supervision of Meru Town Road B66/N9 phase 1 works, noting that the two tenders were closed on 18 March 2022 and 22nd March 2022, respectively. State reason for this delay in completion of evaluation process, and C, state when the dwelling of Meru Town Road B66/A9 project phase 1 will commence, giving the projected date of completion, stating measures, if any, being taken to ensure that the project will be completed within the scheduled timelines and budget. Mr. Speaker, sir, in response to the request sought by Senator Kaduri Murungi, MP, the committee sought and received response to the statement from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Roads and Transport. At its sitting held on 12th October 2023, the committee considered the response to the statement and observed that the response was unsatisfactory and sought supplementary information. The committee will therefore pursue the supplementary issue raised in the statement to its conclusion. Mr. Speaker, the supplementary information to a statement on the illegal diversion of staff training funds from the account of the Kenya Maritime Authority. At the sitting of the Senate held on 8th November 2022, Senator Mohamed Faki, MP, made a statement on illegal diversion of staff training funds from the accounts of Kenya Maritime Authority. The committee received a response to the statement from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, and considered it on 28 February 2023, where the committee sought the following supplementary information to the statement. A, whether a maritime attaché at the Kenya High Commission in London was appointed. B, copies of documentation used in compliance of Section 43(1) of Public Finance Management Act and Regulation 48(1) of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulation 2015 during the budgetary allocation of funds from the staff training budget vote to the establishment of the Office of Maritime Attaché in London, and C, copies of agreement negotiation of Kenya Maritime Authority, KMA, with shipping lines, ships and classification society that offered free training stroke discounted training cost of KMA employees. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee received a response to the supplementary information sought and considered it on 17th of October 2023. The committee observed that the response was unsatisfactory and resolved to invite the Kenya Maritime Authority on Thursday, 2nd November 2023 to clarify on the issue of staff training. The fifth statement, Mr. Speaker, the statement by Senator James Kamau Murango, MP, regarding speeding by drivers transporting miraa in parts of Kirinyaga. At a sitting of the Senate held on Wednesday, 16th November 16 November 2022, Senator James Kamau Murango, MP, requested for a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding speeding by drivers transporting miraa in parts of Kirinyaga. In the statement, the committee was requested to A, appraise the Senate to the extent of compliance to provisions stipulated in the Traffic Act by drivers transporting miraa. B, state the measures put in place, if any, to curb accidents caused by drivers who continue to create havoc on Ndenderoko, Gathigiriri Preston Road, and Dhifa, Red Soil, Morufara, and Gurubani areas in the county. And C, emulate the action being taken by the government to ensure peaceful coexistence among road users, including motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians, and dealing strictly with traffic offenders to curb cases of traffic offenses and accidents. The committee received a response to the statement from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Roads and Transport, and considered it on Tuesday, 25th April 2023, where the committee resolved and sought the following supplementary information. A, the National Transport and Safety Authority should strictly enforce the Traffic Act on miraa transport drivers who contravene the Act. B, the Ministry of Roads and Transport should engage miraa transporters through their circles and association and develop a sensitization program for compliance of Traffic Act by miraa drivers. And C, the Ministry of Roads and Transport to submit a report to the committee on the implementation of proposed interventions to improve road safety as stated in the response to the statement. Mr. Speaker, sir, in response to the request sought by Senator James Murango, MP, committee sought and received a response to the statement from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Roads and Transport. At its sitting held on 17th of October 2023, the committee considered the response to the statement and observed that the response was satisfactory and therefore concluded the statement. Mr. Speaker, the last statement was sought by Senator Beatrice Ogola, MP, regarding the death of boda riders and their passengers by sugarcane trailers of a local sugar miller, Sukari industry in Thiwa constituency. At a sitting of the Senate held on 15th November 2022, Senator Beatrice Ogola, MP, requested for a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transport and Housing regarding death of boda riders and their passengers by sugarcane trailers of a local sugar miller, Sukari industry in Thiwa constituency. In the statement, the committee was requested to A, explain why cane trailers belonging to the local miller in Thiwa, Sukari industry transport sugarcane at night when visibility is poor, leading to frequent cases of accident, specifically involving boda, their passengers and other pedestrians, noting that local access roads are very narrow and the trailer roads of cane are abnormally big. B, state whether recent cases of accidents involving cane trailers of said company, boda riders and other road users, where approximately 20 people have lost their lives and dozens injured, have been investigated and culprits brought to book. C, caused the sugar miller to clear cane trailer breakdown along the road, prompting, noting inordinate delay in clearing broken down cane trailers from the roads continues to pose danger to road users. D, explain whether families of persons who have lost their lives or sustained injuries arising from accidents involving cane trailers and boda have been compensated by sugar millers, where investigation have found the miller culpable. And E, outline plans, if any, by the Kenya National Highway Authority, KENHA, the Kenya Rural Authority, KERA, as well as the county government of Homa Bay, to expand local access roads and repair dilapidated sections, as well as clearly mark the roads with appropriate signage. The committee received a response to the statement from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Roads and Transport, and considered it on Thursday, 27th April 2023, where the committee resolved and sought the following supplementary information. A, data on the accidents that have occurred in Thiwa constituency since 1st December 2022 to 31st March 2023, and indicate the cause of the accident, the the roads along which the accident occurred, the owners of vehicles involved in the accident, the fatalities, stroke injuries per accident, and the actions taken as a result of accidents by the NTSA and NPS, and B, whether there are any application and grants made for exemptions of road capacity by sugarcane trailers in Diwa constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, in response to the request by Senator Beatrice Ogola MP, the committee sought and received a response to the statement from the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Road and Transport. At a sitting held on 17th of October 2023, the committee considered the response to the statement and found the response to be satisfactory and therefore concluded the statement. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee has noted with concern the high rate of death, over 4,500 per year, arising from increased road accidents in the country, and in such, the committee has scheduled to hold a meeting on 7th of October 2023 with stakeholders involved in roads safety awareness and sensitization, so as to deliberate on actions that should be taken to reduce the number of road accidents. Mr. Speaker, sir, during consideration of response to the above statement, the committee invited the senators who requested for those statements. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for allowing me to read this long statement. Thank you.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 8, motion, debate on the President's address to Parliament.
Now, honorable senators, at the rise of the House yesterday, Senator Beatrice Ogola had the floor, or this morning, had the floor, and I had a balance of 7 minutes. She's not in. She has to familiarize herself with the standing order, because those 7 minutes will go up in the air once I move to the next senator to speak. He's not in the House. Senator Essie. Senator Essie Okenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to support the motion of the President's address, in as much as I want to note that we've had a share of our own challenges, but it's equally important to note some of the progresses that this administration has made in the first year in office. Mr. Speaker, one of such progresses we've made, farmers across the country were able to receive the subsidized fertilizer, and as a result, we've had actually decreased prices of unga in our supermarket shelves. That's one thing we cannot go without acknowledging from this administration. Mr. Speaker, sir, why should be...
What is the point of order, Senator Sifuna?
Mr. Speaker, under Standing Order 105 on responsibility for statements, I want the senator for the nominated Senator Essie Okenyuri to demonstrate to this House a reduction in the prices of unga to the levels that she's claiming.
I think the senator is referring to the address by the president.
Yes. That's exactly what I'm on about.
It's contained there. He's simply lifting as it's contained in that particular.
Oh, but now she's not the president. She's not the president now.
Honorable Senator, the only time you'll be called upon to substantiate is when you yourself make certain allegations. But if you're lifting a statement from a book or from a report, then that burden does not lie on your shoulders. Senator, can you proceed, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for guiding the Honorable Senator for Nairobi. Not actually every other thing that you're making reference from deserves rising on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, sir, that said, we come to the issue of the health sector, whereby we saw the community health promoters whom we now have across the country. I had a one-on-one encounter with community health promoters the other time, the Senate Health Committee, in their county tours in Nyamira, Ekerenyo, where we visited in our inspection visits. And I can assure you, even the people at the locality were very happy to see this new development because services were getting closer to them. And like initially where they only relied on having to travel all the way to the health facility, they can actually get advice and help at a grassroots level where before they actually seek for specialized support in hospitals. Mr. Speaker, sir, those are one of the best developments we have because a healthy nation is a nation that is able to even work on themselves and get economic status that will actually support them, support their families. Mr. Speaker, this actually is supporting very many women, especially rural women. For the other day, the Senate was in Turkana, and for the senators in the health committee who had an opportunity to visit the dispensaries in Turkana County, you can actually concur with me as to why we dearly needed these community health promoters. If women in rural parts of Turkana are not able to access dispensaries because of the distance, why don't we make it easier for them? Because I equally realized they are conservative community and the women would not want to be exposed, especially when they visit these facilities during delivery. So this is a very good way of making services get closer to the people, also accommodating their interests. Those are the discussions we should be having, and I want to commend this address by the President, because as I initially indicated, in as much as we have had a share of our own challenges, partly well known, we got the wells dug deeper. We couldn't continue digging deeper, and we are trying to cover up for some of those mistakes made by the previous regime. And a popular handshake, which was a very bad leadership experiment we've had in this country. Mr. Speaker, allow me to conclude at that bit and say that we keep learning on a daily basis and urge the members of the opposition side, if they have better engagement on how this administration can actually implement some of these issues. And I always remind members, leadership actually works when we ignore the other issues that divide us, other than come together and agree on what works. Because you're a Kenyan first before you either become Kenya Kwanza or Azimio. So we are Kenyans, and as leaders, we need to put our heads together and support the president in steering this administration, because Kenyans spoke and they made a choice. We now have the ball on our side to ensure that whatever choices we made work for the several millions of Kenyans who are relying on us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ombo.
The Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity to also add my comments to the address by the President. The Speaker, I would seek your guidance first before I make my comments on whether you have ruled on the admissibility of the statements and documents laid by Senator Sifuna to substantiate his claims on the floor, and specifically in relation to the issue of the fertilizer subsidy. Because the Speaker, in my comments, I want to to touch on that issue of the fertilizer, but I don't want the wrong impression to be created that I am commenting on a matter that you have not made a ruling on, the speakers.
The Honorable Senator, if you're keen, I said that I will look at those documents. On whether they're admissible or not, that can only be after I've looked at them. And therefore, the first thing I'll have to pronounce myself on is the admissibility of the documents that have been laid there. Once they're admissible, then I'll proceed to the second link, whether they are sufficient to substantiate the claim that was made yesterday. And if I find that they are not, they're inadmissible, then of course the matter rests right there. So that is a ruling that I'll make first thing tomorrow when we resume the House.
Well guided, the speaker, so I'll see how to navigate my comments. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to say on record that before I joined the Senate in the year 2017, I was a senior editor in this country. And I used to dispatch journalists to cover this very event, the joint address of the President by the President of Parliament. The Speaker, the first question that I would detail my journalists to ask members of Parliament before the address would be, what are your expectations on this statement, on the statement of the President? And after that, then I would debrief them on whether the expectations had been met. The Speaker, now I am seated here as a senator, as a leader in this country. I must confess that going by the trend that I've seen this administration conduct itself in public and the suffering that the people of this country have been subjected to by this administration, I did not have any expectations on that address. And so the Speaker, having made that statement, I would want to inform us that the Speaker, Article 132 of the Constitution, the entirety of that article, places an obligation on the President to address Parliament. In fact, the Speaker, even just a casual reading of that article would demonstrate that the President's address to Parliament is the first obligation, it is the first function assigned to the President. So it cannot be a matter of just ticking boxes that I have done this, I've done that. It must be an address that, Mr. Speaker, brings change and inspires hope in the nation through the leadership of Parliament. The Speaker, the requirements are very clear and very simple, that the President should address us as representatives of the people of this Republic on the state of the nation. Where are we as a country? He is supposed to address us on the measures that have been put in place by his administration and the progress made in realization of the national values and principles of governance as captured in Article 10 of the Constitution. And lastly, the Speaker is supposed to address us as representatives of the people on the state of our national security. Are our borders safe? Are we safe in this country? That is what the Constitution requires the President to do. Mr. Speaker, having gone through the address of the President over and over again, I must say I am extremely disappointed. Disappointed, Mr. Speaker, because there are issues glaring at Kenyans today that those who had expectations would have wished that the president addressed this nation on those issues. The Speaker, I will mention only 2 or 3. On the matter of the cost of living, Mr. Speaker, and I said I would find a way of navigating that issue of the fertilizer because you are yet to make a ruling on it. But Mr. Speaker, allow me to say that the mention of this subsidy from 6,500 to 2,500, the Speaker, even if that were to be true, is too little at a time like this to be the only thing that the President of a republic mentions when it comes to addressing the issues of the cost of living. I've said many times, Mr. Speaker, that there are people in this region, Kenyans in this country, who don't use fertilizer to grow crops. People who don't use fertilizer to keep their animals, their poultry. And so, Mr. Speaker, if the only serious matter that the president could speak about on bringing down the cost of living was the issue of the fertilizer, then, Mr. Speaker, it is too little to talk about. I would have said a few other things about it, Mr. Speaker, because I'm waiting a ruling. I will stop there. But I will remind the president and this administration that the cost of living, Mr. Speaker, is such a serious issue in this country that as I comment on the address of the president today, the Speaker, there are millions of Kenyans who are unable to make their ends meet. There are millions of Kenyans who are unable to place a meal on the table for their children. The Speaker, there are millions of students in this country who are confused, Mr. Speaker. We have students in our universities who are unable to even sit exams because there is confusion on the system of education that we are using and the system of funding for university education. These are issues, Mr. Speaker, that should have attracted the attention of the president, should have made, should have gotten a pride of place in the speech of the president. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of inclusivity, as required in Article 10 of the Constitution. And this, Mr. Speaker, I say with a lot of seriousness. A few months ago, we concluded the recruitment of servicemen and women.
What is your point of order, Senator Bondi?
Accuracy of speech. Is the senator of Kitui, in order to mislead the Republic, who might not have followed the president's speech during the joint sitting, that the president did not highlight the important matter of education? Indeed, Mr. Speaker, he did so in bullet 53, 54, 55, and finally, Mr. Speaker, bullets 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60. Is in order.
Honorable Senator, you've made some
yes,
allegations to the fact that the president did not mention anything concerning education, and the senator for Kakamega has drawn your attention to those paragraphs that indeed His Excellency the President took time to explain.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether the senator for Kakamega has already made his contribution on this matter, but that's fine. The speaker, because I have my time to make my contribution, if he listened to my opening statements, I said that this is not just an act of ticking boxes and telling people who are starving that you know you are starving. They already know. What I'm talking about is providing solutions to the challenges that face our university education, our secondary education, our system of education, our system of funding of our education system. Those are the things I'm talking about. Not just mentioning that these things are happening, because we already know that there is a problem. We are looking for solutions. The Speaker, on the issue of the inclusivity as required in Article 10 of the Constitution, I was saying that a few months ago, there was a recruitment of servicemen and women to join the Kenya Defense Forces. I raised a question on the floor of this House, seeking to know why the sub-county called Tharaka in Kitui County had been denied an opportunity to have a recruitment center for the servicemen and women joining the KDF. Mr. Speaker, to date, it has not occurred to the chairman of security, and he's not here, and his members, that was a question, a statement that had timelines, and it needed to be addressed before the recruitment was done, so that we afford our young people an opportunity to present themselves for recruitment. Mr. Speaker, I will be requesting this House, on account of the requirement by law, by the Constitution, that the President must be guided by the principle of inclusivity when it comes to access to opportunities in this country. I will be requesting the Speaker that we do a proper audit of the recruitment of the KDF, the past recruitment of KDF, so that we establish regional balance. How many young people from each region were accorded the opportunities to be recruited in the KDF? I say this, the Speaker, because I know this is not an isolated case. I had conversations with my brother, my colleague, my neighbor, the senator for Tana River, and I know he had a similar challenge, where a section of his people were denied an opportunity to present themselves for recruitment. Mr. Speaker, if we allow these things to continue, then what will happen is that at the end of the day, we will have regions of this country that have provided young people to serve in the military, and other regions that are denied that opportunity. The Speaker, on the matter of...
Senator Wambua, yes. The senator from Migori wishes to inform you. Are you amenable?
I'm okay, you can inform me.
Proceed, Senator Eddie.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. The issue that the senator of Kitui has raised is a very close issue to my heart. The issue around inclusivity, not only in the recruitment of KDF, but also in the general recruitment in the public sector. And I wanted to inform the senator for Kitui that I actually have two statements that I've forwarded to the relevant committees. One, I did forward to the CS, the Committee on Labor, to scan and give us that proper audit on public service, the entire public service of the country. And yesterday, I also did submit a statement here for the Ministry of Defense to give us exactly how this recruitment were done, but on these two statements when they'll be given in the House, so that we can be able to do that audit with the information that will come from these two ministries. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Senator Eddy. I will indeed take more than passing interest in the response to those statements. And Mr. Speaker, while at that, because I have the floor, Mr. Speaker, we must also find, either administratively or otherwise, a way of getting chairpersons of committees to fast-track responses to statements. Because it doesn't help to respond to a statement 1 year after a statement was sought. The Speaker, I will conclude my remarks on the matter of food prices. And so that Senator Halwale does not accuse me of not reading the statement, I want to take an excerpt from the President's address and ask questions from that excerpt. The Speaker, in paragraph 17, the President says that as a result of these interventions, or the interventions that he had mentioned earlier, today a 2-kilogram packet of maize flour is selling at a low of 145 shillings and a high of 175, depending on the brand, down from 250 shillings. A gorogoro of maize is selling at between 60 and 75 shillings. That is directly lifted from the address of the President. The Speaker, I have taken time and traveled far and wide to validate that very statement by the President. The Speaker, this statement by the President is not true. I was in Vihiga County, Luanda, on Sunday, and I took the pain to go around and ask the people of Luanda whether the price of gorogoro was retailing at 70 shillings. And all of them said the least that you can get is 90 shillings. But in most cases, it's 100 and 110 shillings. Mr. Speaker, today, I sent my people from my office, my staff, paid by the Parliamentary Service Commission, to go around the supermarkets and establish the price of maize flour. And they returned the verdict that the lowest that they found was 149, and the highest was 235 shillings. Mr. Speaker, I know that the President relies on the advice of his technical team to deliver certain speeches. On this one, they have left a lot of egg on the face of the President. They have misled him, and he has miscommunicated to this nation. Mr. Speaker, the matter of food prices in this country, it doesn't know political affiliations. It doesn't matter whether you subscribe to the ideals of the Kenya Kwanza administration or the ideals of the Azimio government in waiting. It doesn't matter. The Speaker, the only thing that matters is that people want to have food on the table. And this government, Mr. Speaker, has done too little to deal with the matter of the cost of living. I am happy, Mr. Speaker, that we have the National Dialogue Committee that is.
Senator Sigay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first of all want to appreciate the fact that the Honorable Senator Wambua indeed can acknowledge that this particular speech made reference to some commitments which were made, and also those commitments have already been achieved to the benefit of the Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, his option to tell us that last Sunday he was in Rwanda and he also went ahead to confirm the prices is not what has been given in the speech. Is also something that I can say. I come from an agricultural zone where the prices sometimes even are below that which the president quoted in his speech. Mr. Speaker, I must appreciate the fact that we have had challenges, and this is truly acknowledged in the speech by the president, that indeed when we came into office, we had as much challenges as those which were given in the speech and those which were not given. History will never be forgotten as you push towards achieving the plans that you have. And the frankness in the speech by the president, in the commitments which were made, and the achievements which have been made cannot be ignored. We cannot, Mr. Speaker, say that we have achieved 100% of the promises which were made. That one is acknowledged. But where were we and where we are is something that the speech indeed acknowledged in a number of its provisions. One of which, Mr. Speaker, is the cost of living. Honorable Speaker, the president indeed acknowledged in very many paragraphs. Out of this, I can very well recall that paragraph 15 of 102 speech by the president is where he indeed made specific comments on the efforts the government has done. And it's true, he has acknowledged, my colleague has acknowledged the fact that one of the items that the National Dialogue Committee has given itself to discuss and come out with a proposal on how to deal with is the cost of living. And in that particular speech, Mr. Speaker, it is acknowledged that it is not it's not a one-off thing. It's not something that we can just go across in the shops and buy. A cost of living, or the cost of living is a process. It is something that begins somewhere and takes time. And one of the ways within which the cost of living has been addressed by this administration is on the effort that we have been told in the speech about the agriculture sector. The support with which the government has given is not only towards bringing down the cost of maize. It has gone across. It deals with maize, it deals with milk, where there are efforts to ensure that we add value to the produce from our farmers, and by extension, we will fetch better prices in the market. That same effort is in enlisting the farmers, so that we have a database of who are the people whom we need to reach out to in order to get government support. We acknowledge the fact that not all of us are farmers. Even in this particular house, Mr. Speaker, not all of us can also do the same thing. There are various people with various engagements and commitments where this particular speech acknowledges that those who are in agriculture are supported. Those who are in business are supported. And in this case, there is particular reference to the people in the small sector holdings, where the Hustler Fund, which they have intentionally decided to say it has not helped, is acknowledged. This is an approach that the government made in its campaign to reach out to the small business community. And indeed, the statistics which you were given has confirmed that it is not only the small business people who have borrowed this money, it has gone beyond that. And the second phase of this fund, Mr. Speaker, has equally been alluded to, where instead of reaching out now to the single business entrepreneurs, we've gone to groups where, by extension, we are going to support them by borrowing. This borrowing, Mr. Speaker, touches the business community in two ways. One, by supporting them to enhance their business enterprises, and also the approach which led to the removal of a number of these people from the bureau where they had been listed as non-credit worthy, where somebody is able to borrow a facility. In extension, that particular person will be supporting the business and enhancing his or her credit worthiness. Mr. Speaker, sir, this particular speech gave Kenyans the hope that we gave them in the course of the campaigns. And that particular hope is what keeps us and keeps the Kenyans going in terms of seeing tomorrow and achieving the dreams that they have had. One of the things that we must also not forget, Mr. Speaker, is the independence that this particular administration sought and has indeed provided to independent institutions, one of which was the immediate appointment of the 6 judges. I am a practitioner in the judicial sector, and I know the importance of having to recruit judges and give them their independence. That alone is something that takes justice, not to only those who go to court, but to the rest of the Kenyans. Giving an independent management to the judiciary fund, which is enhanced to 3 billion Kenya shillings, is a very important aspect in building the independence of judiciary, enhancing access to justice. And by extension, it is expanding job opportunities, because by this fund, the judiciary has been given more opportunities to employ. This is what we every day cry. Very young Kenyans, very many young Kenyans have gone to school. They are reaching out, seeking for opportunities to be employed. And by this fund alone, we create employment to very many Kenyans. Beyond that, Mr. Speaker, the effort in the housing sector, the affordable housing sector, where we have not more than in the period we've been in office, the Kenyans have been given the opportunity to also not only go and get these houses, but it has been an opportunity to create more employment. A good number of my friends who sit in the minority side, Mr. Speaker, have participated in a number of those sessions where the affordable housing programs are being launched. In this way, it is on the one hand enhancing availability of housing, on the other hand, giving Kenyans the opportunity to get employment, and also open up for the business community to supply the materials towards this construction, whether it is the fundis who've been trained or the guys who are owners of various hardware facilities. Mr. Speaker, I want to applaud the efforts that this administration has done, and the speech by the president is one of the very honest speeches where he has alluded to the challenges the administration has gone through and the efforts the administration which he leads is pushing in order to make Kenya a better place. And in this way, Mr. Speaker, Kenya is going to be a better place in the near future. As I end, Mr. Speaker, one of the most important things which we can't forget is where a number of Kenyans are unable to also sustain their business enterprises because of the debt bracket that this country has done. The commitment by the government and the commitment by the president that there'll be a bullet payment of the outstanding amount in advance is a show of the direction the country is headed to. And I am sure where we are able to make this payment by December as committed by the president in his speech, we are going to be opening up this country so that investors can also have confidence to come across, and also the rest of the world, where we have, by the way, by a number of the visits that the head of state has made, been opening up Kenya for investments globally. Mr. Speaker, I want to applaud and ask that the effort this administration is doing goes towards making Kenya a better place to live in. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Senator Beth Siengo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I raise to differ, to disagree, and refuse the false promises, false hopes, and the failed expectations of Kenyans that were contained in the presidential address. Mr. Speaker, sir, it saddens my heart to see the President of the Republic of Kenya get to address honorable members of parliament in this country and fail to give Kenyans hope. The expectations that Kenyans have had in this new administration. My expectation as Senator Beth Siengo was for the president, first of all, to apologize to Kenyans for lying to them, for false promises, and making life more difficult for
What is
Kenyans
the point of
to
order,
live in this
Senator
country.
Mungatana? Senator Beth Siengo, kindly take it.
This is a house of record, Mr. Speaker. Irrespective of how you feel, whether you like a person or you cannot use words like lying. It's not parliamentary, Mr. Speaker. And we have already finished 1 year. Some of these things should not be happening, Mr. Speaker. No, you can't say lying. That's not parliamentary, my young daughter.
Senator Mungatana, you've made your point of order. Senator Chirangei, kindly hold your horses. Senator Chirangei. Senator Beth Siengo, this is a house of rules and procedure.
Yes, sir. I
Kindly,
know,
as
and I
you make
recognize
your-
that.
As you make your contribution, kindly be guided by rules and procedure and use parliamentary language.
Mr. Speaker, sir, it is good to follow and to use parliamentary language. But when one makes a promise that has never been fulfilled, what do we call that? Mr. Speaker, sir, when Kenyans,
Senator Beth Siengo, the reason why I'm guiding you is to help you take your point home by using parliamentary language. If you insist, you know exactly what will befall you. Proceed.
thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I am guided, but the challenges facing Kenyans are too enormous. The cost of living is unmanageable. The prices of fuel cannot even be imagined. Mr. Speaker, when the President of the Republic of Kenya talks of transforming economy by giving loans and supporting Kenyans to ask for loans where they are expected to repay, this is not a new thing. It has been happening. Kenyans have been living on very difficult conditions of borrowing and repaying those loans. I don't see how it is a new way of transforming the economy. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we talk of giving Kenyans hope, it will start with practical things that the current administration is doing to improve the living standards of Kenyans. Allow me to say that on inclusivity, it also saddens my heart. When this Kenya Kwanza administration was doing their campaigns, they talked of how they would stand by women, support women, appoint more women, ensure more women are elected, ensure that more women are appointed. It is disappointing to see the same women who have been played games on are misused, are struggling, are crying, even to take their children to school, even to place food on the table for their children. Mr. Speaker, sir, as representatives of the people of this great nation of Kenya, we must speak the truth, and we should not stand here to lie to Kenyans how the current administration.
What is the point of order, Senator Chirangei?
I stand under standing order number 98, 103, and 105. You have directed, unless you will now need to invoke standing order number 121 for disorderly conduct. You have directed that the senator uses parliamentary language, but she continues to use the word lie. And we have been here more than 1 year, Mr. Speaker. I have been offering free lessons to any person like her so that they can understand what you can say in the floor. You can disagree with government, which is okay, and unless there is a problem, because you just kindly use parliamentary language. You can say disagree, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, is it in order to defy, to decline your directions that you have said, let us, all of us, use parliamentary language? Mr. Speaker, respectfully, if she continues with the same, can you invoke standing order number 121 on disorderly conduct, and we allow her to go and enjoy afternoon siesta? I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Betsieng, I have advised you on what is and what is not parliamentary language.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand
I'm still
guided.
speaking. I'm still speaking. You have insisted, despite my guidance, to use unparliamentary language. I will therefore proceed to caution you. Secondly, before you proceed, just as a way of helping you, the debate before us, we are debating on a motion on the President's address to Parliament. What you ought to debate here, it is the address made by the President. And I hope you have it before you. It has 1 or 2 bullets. If any of those bullets you're not agreeing with, you point them out. I'm referring to paragraph 100 of the President's address. He said this, I do not agree because of A, B, and C. That's how honorable members debate honorably. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I may change the wording, untruthful statements amounts to not telling the Kenyans the truth. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is good that I stand guided, but sincerely I'm holding the speech in my hand. If I may look at point...
Senator Betsieng, I'll continue guiding you because I need you to continue contributing as opposed to asking you to withdraw from the chamber. I guided you pretty well that what we are debating now is the address made by the President to Parliament in a joint sitting. An address that you must have a copy before you. Our debate is confined to that address, not to some campaign pledges made in Vihiga. It is a contribution, a debate on what you have before you. Anything else is beyond this motion. So restrict yourself to what is there, lift out what you think you don't disagree, and tell us what you think you do not agree. Lift out what you agree, and tell us what you agree. That is the essence of this debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It may be untrue to you, it may be true to others. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I mentioned on the campaigns, it is just expounding on some points, sir. Thank you for your guidance. As I had indicated, I'm holding a copy of the speech. And when I expound on a point or explaining, because I don't expect honorable members in this house also to support that which is not true. That is my point, sir. Looking at point 1.2, that is 12, where the speech indicates that the leadership has transformed the national political conversation from personalities to issues, from regional or ethnic license to opportunities. Mr. Speaker, my heart is bleeding because when we are talking of opposition leadership as the alternative government in waiting, we are ready.
Order,
yes.
Order, honorable members. Of course,
We are ready to
Of
offer.
course, the opposition is a government in waiting. Proceed.
We are ready to offer better leadership, to offer truthful promises, and to deliver to the Kenyans, because Kenyans want development. Kenyans who want to live a life that they will be proud to be Kenyans, but not to feel downtrodden, depressed, crying every day, worrying of what will be the price of fuel tomorrow be. It is unfortunate. From the speech, point number 14, I would say I disagree with this because there is a lot of wastage by this government. On Monday, we were treated to a spectacular thing where we saw people flying from one county to another using chartered planes, choppers, where the costs of hiring a chopper ranges between 200 to 300 thousand Kenyan shillings. Yet, there is a Kenyan waiting for their children who have completed class 8, sat for their KCPE, and they don't know where to get school fees from. There are Kenyans who are going to bed hungry. They don't know where to get the next meal from.
What is your point of order, Senator Boni?
Mr. Speaker, Senator Siengo is quite right to laud the wastage in government. But it's in order to do so in total ignorance of the fact that this government has a policy on transport. When a public servant travels...
Under what standing order? Are you giving information
misleading,
or you're raising on a point of order?
I am rising on point of order number 105, Mr. Speaker, to compel... don't
Order,
be angry.
Senator Eddy.
It is debate. What is the anger
Senator
for?
Boni.
Yeah. My view, if it is wrong, you'll bring yours, which is right, isn't it? Mr. Speaker, sir, the government has a policy on transport. And public servants are free to go for other options if they find that policy is not convenient. A public servant moving from Nairobi to a function in the periphery has a public vehicle with a work ticket.
What is your point of order, Senator Boni?
She is misleading the people that we are using state resources to hire choppers when we know that some of our ministers are millionaires. They can afford their own choppers, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Beth Siengo, proceed to conclude your remarks.
Thank you, sir. I'm very sure that Senator Boni Alwale, my good friend, the bullfighter,
Proceed to make your remarks, Senator Siengo.
knows that I am well educated. When he calls me ignorant, Mr. Speaker, sir, I can't understand which standing order allows him to call me ignorant. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to conclude by saying that I'm also very sure that Senator Boni Alwale knows that the transport policy that the government may have does not allow wastage in the government for public resources. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am elated this afternoon listening to members debate the president's speech for the very first time, an opportunity to many of them critique, agree, disagree. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by lauding the president on very serious departures from the past. For those that have been on the corridors of parliament for quite a while, you would know that there are many things that have been the hallmarks of presidential speeches which did not feature or were not granted prominence, Mr. Speaker, on that particular day. And of particular note to me, Mr. Speaker, is a reference to the House of a Parliament as a gathering of duly elected representatives of the people, giving an account of what their government under the leadership of President William Ruto, has been able to do to the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, you will note that in the past years, we've always been treated to rants and chants of my government, my government, my government. It is a single act of patriotism when, as a leader, you appreciate and you know that the position of a president is a position of public trust, that has have considered you, that this is an opportunity through which you can lead and make the lives of the people that elected you better. Second and most important thing, Mr. Speaker, is to celebrate and appreciate the fact that in all the 102 paragraphs that form the part of this particular speech, the president is spot on 100%, Mr. Speaker. And he speaks and gives an account of policies, programs, legislative interventions, in terms of funding and other policies, Mr. Speaker, that have been undertaken in the last 20 months, Mr. Speaker, of trying to make the lives of Kenyan people better. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, this conversation cannot be complete and you cannot have a complete picture. And I know that while Mr. President tried to avoid delving into our past, we know for a fact, Mr. Speaker, that it is a past that informs us of the future. He did not tell the country that he found a tattered economy with only 90 million Kenya shillings in the accounts of Central Bank Kenya, that Kenya was like a baby that had escaped the jaws of a crocodile along River Tana, where Senator Mungatana comes from, Mr. Speaker. That this economy had been battered, had been mismanaged, and things were terribly bad. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I agree with those that have argued before, Mr. Speaker, that in the unfortunate event that this government had gone to the very hands that were managing it before September 2022, we would be worse than Ghana today, Mr. Speaker. We would have been auctioned, we would have been victims,
what is
Mr.
the point
Speaker.
of order, Senator Eddy? Senator Eddy, what is the point of order? Senator Eddy, proceed with the point of order, please.
Mr. Speaker, I rise under standing order number 101 and 105. Mr. Speaker, you have ruled when a member of the minority side was submitting on this speech, on the content of this speech, and restricted senators to the content of this speech. The majority leader is introducing things that the president did not talk about in this speech. Number one. Number two, on the statement of fact, Mr. Speaker, the majority leader is telling the country that when the president took over office, the national coffers had only 90 shillings. No, he said 90 million shillings. Okay? Mr. Speaker, can he substantiate that statement in the House and tell us a country that was running on 90 million with all the public service components of this country going to trillions of money, Mr. Speaker? Is he in order to cast aspersion on our whole country to having been that broke, where the president himself was a deputy president, flying with choppers, driving vehicles that cannot sustain themselves even for a month at 90 million, Mr. Speaker? Is he in order?
Majority Leader, you have made allegation to the extent that when His Excellency the President took over the running of the affairs of this country, at that time, the books of this country were reflecting 90 million at hand. You need to substantiate that. You may either do so right away, or you may do that tomorrow.
Mr. Speaker, I thought there's only one speaker in the House. I am struggling to get your instructions because there is a whole battalion of...
Senator Mogeni, if you proceed in the manner you're proceeding, You'll be watching the majority leader at the lounge. So kindly let me steer.
Mr. Speaker, I want to dissuade you from sending Senator Okongo Mogeni out. These are the few instances he's in the country. So allow him, allow him to enjoy the proceedings of the House. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I will provide.
Yes, Senator Mogeni. Senator.
You cannot let my good friend, Senator of Kericho, to get away with that statement. You know, Mr. Speaker, I took over from Senator of Kericho.